Yeah, I told you the next one was going to be very predictable. So we've had what is the best ship. So now, what is the worst ship in the game? Um, this one isn't quite so difficult to answer. Straight away, it's a choice of two. So let's get straight to the first one, which is the Cobra Mark IV. Now, thankfully, quite a few players don't have access to this because you have to have both Elite Dangerous and Horizons to be able to select this. In fact, this is the only reward, if you can really call it that, for having both. If you've only got one or the other, quite a few players now only have Horizons, then yeah, you can't fly this. You are not missing out on anything there. When you look at the stats of this ship, calling it a Cobra Mark IV is a bit ridiculous. In Elite lore, after the original Cobra, the Mark 1, there was a Cobra Mark 2 that never got past the testing stage. It was abandoned for being hopeless, and then they just went straight onto the Cobra Mark 3. Looking at this ship, this is much more like the Cobra Mark 2 because it's a massive backward step compared to the Mark 3. Top speed is down, boost speed is down, manoeuvrability is down. I think frameshift drive range may be up. Nope, that's down. Shields and armour, I think they are up. Yeah, well, shields are up. Armour, well, the difference is negligible. Cargo capacity is down. Number of hard points has gone up, but the additional hard point is only an extra small hard point. Now, okay, in the smaller ships like this, that may not necessarily be a problem. And I must admit, the hard point placement on the Mark IV is a lot better than it is on the Mark III. It does also have more optional internals. In fact, thinking about it, did I say that cargo capacity is down? I think cargo capacity is actually up on this, but only slightly. But there are a lot more internal compartments here. Go back to the Mark III. Now, obviously with the Mark III, some of them are empty, so they won't appear here. But the big problem is with the core internals. As far as I can remember, so the Mark IV has class 4s for the first three, and then class 3s for the second three. So yeah, the core internals are exactly the same, which means that the power distributor is a class 3, exactly the same as the Cobra Mark III, but of course the Cobra Mark III only has 4 weapons, or at most will have 4 weapons. This will have 5 weapons at most, but you don't get any additional power to the weapons in order to power the 5th weapon. It really needed a class 4 power distributor, but it hasn't got one. So yeah, its jump range, its jump range is lower. So the only thing that this does better than the Cobra Mark III is it has the potential for more cargo capacity, and there's some more options regarding your optional internal loadout, and it has potentially better shields, and that's it. In everything else, the Cobra Mark III is better, and in some cases it's better by a vast amount. To top it all off, the cost of the Cobra Mark 4 from Shinrata anyway is 671,000, whereas the Cobra Mark 3 is only 306,000. So the Cobra Mark 4 is more than twice the price, and yet it's nowhere near as good. The ship is an utter waste of time. But amazingly, this isn't the worst ship in the game. The worst is this, the Keelback. This ship really is an absolute waste of time. It's described, here we go, this is Lakon Spaceway's new combat trader class vessel, designed for hostile environment deliveries and light support duties. It is based on the Type 6 frame, but with extra weapon hardpoints. It has a reduced cargo capacity to support a higher class of power plant and can even accommodate a fighter bay. So you can quite clearly see from the image what they have done is taken a Type 6, given it a higher power plant at the cost of cargo capacity. Well, if you're going to buy a Type 6 class ship, the only reason for getting that is cargo capacity. So why would you then spend more? See, from Shinrata, the Type 6 is 917,000. From Shinrata, the Keelback is 2,743,201. So you're getting on for 3 times the price for a ship that has less cargo capacity. It's not just a number one priority for a Type 6, it's the only priority. Now, it does have additional weapons, as it was said in the description. The Type 6 only has 2 small hardpoints, but you are not going to go into combat with a Type 6. You never are. Basically, if you're interdicted in this thing and you don't have any wing mates with you, you've got to run. That's all you can do. Now the Keelback, it does have, as well as the 2 small hardpoints here, it has 2 medium hardpoints. So you can fit much more firepower. So you may think, well, there you go, I've got a better chance at lasting. I may even be able to actually take this into combat. Well, we'll look at the core internals. It has a Class 3 power distributor, which is exactly the same as the Type 6. Now the Type 6 only has a Class 3 power distributor because all it needs to run are its engines. Shields are not that impressive. It can fit a Class 4 shield. It comes with a Class 3, but you can have a Class 4, although that will impact on your cargo capacity. With the Keelback, this comes with a Class 3 shield generator, but again you can fit it to a Class 4, so it has exactly the same shield strength as a Type 6. If we look, right, the shield's 99, so the stock shields, the Keelback is better, but I mean that's really not saying a lot. Armour on the Type 6 is paper thin, so armour of 324 compared to 486. So okay, the armour looks better, but again the actual hull is, it's paper thin, so it doesn't take any effort at all to get through that armour and waste the bloody ship easy. So it has the grade 4 power plant. That's the upgraded one from the Class 3 that the Type 6 transport has. But what are you going to use it for? You're getting this ship for its cargo capacity, which is already reduced. So the cargo capacity Yeah, it's 42 tonnes. As I say, you can improve that, but I think it's still, it's less than three figures. I think you can take it up to 88. So the cargo capacity of the Type 6 starts off at 50, but you can take it up to three figures. It will carry over 100 tonnes. So it has crap shields, it has crap armour, and although you can fit additional weapons to it, you can fit, say, 2 medium weapons as well as 2 small weapons, but it does not have any additional upgrade to its power distributor. So the same amount of power that the Type 6 has to power its 2 small weapons, this thing has to power all 4 of its weapons, which is including 2 mediums with 2 smalls. So even though you can use greater weapons, you can't use them very long before the power's all been used up and you've got to wait for it to charge again. On top of that, its manoeuvrability is worse than the Type 6. I think I said its frameshift drive range is worse, yeah, a lot worse than the Type 6 because it has the additional mass, but it has the same class of frameshift drive. Calling this thing a combat trader class vessel is like sticking a soft air gun onto the front of a Citroen 2CV and calling it a tank. It fails miserably as a combat vessel. You would be utterly insane to think about taking this as a combat vessel. As a trader vessel, it doesn't have the cargo capacity of the vastly cheaper Type 6, so there's no reason to take this. The only time I have ever seen anyone buy a Keelback was because they were so eager to try ship launch fighters, because you can put a ship launch fighter in the Keelback, you can't put one in the Type 6. But they were so keen to try it that they bought a Keelback just so that they could fit the fighter bay to it. Now anybody who does that soon realises that the Keelback is such a shit ship that even with a fighter bay, it's still utterly fucking useless in combat. The ship launch fighters make so little difference, in fact they don't make any difference at all in combat, so that again is a pointless thing. It's basically there for people who don't have the patience to save up for a decent ship before they then experiment with the fighter bay to see if it's worth having ship launch fighters. It's just an absolute waste of fucking time. It's unquestionably the worst ship in the game. I am amazed that I actually know somebody who bought one, although if I tell you that that person who bought it was Daddy07, that might explain a lot. There are some honourable mentions for worst ship in the game. One of them I don't like to say is a shit ship, but it is because of limitations that have been put on it. It's the Beluga. Now this vessel is enormous, and I did try it out in one of the betas. In fact I tried it out in beta 2.3, but I just never bothered doing a video of it. It's the view from the cockpit is fantastic, totally unobstructed. Its speed and its manoeuvrability for its size are both fantastic. So on the surface it looks great, but its shields are pretty good as well. and its hull is, yeah, the armour on the hull is also pretty good. Its jump range is not phenomenal. It may look quite good here, but if we look at the frameshift drive, it's class 7, which makes you think, oh, okay, you upgrade that, and this thing can, you know, this thing could jump pretty far. But I found that the difference between 7E and 7A wasn't that fantastic. But the big problem with it is that there are huge limitations on what you can fit to the ship in the optional internals. Class 6 is the highest class of any of the optional internal slots. There are, it's either 3 or 4 of them. Now you can have a class 6 shield generator and a class 6 fuel scoop, which is extremely handy, but the 2 other class 6 slots have to be either passenger cabins or cargo racks. You cannot fit anything else to them. This class 5 slot here is also one of those limited ones. It has to be either cargo or passenger cabin. It cannot be anything else. I don't think the class 4 is limited, but nevertheless, so that is 3 extremely good sized optional internal slots, you know, 2 class 6s and a class 5, but all you can use for them is cargo or passengers. If they didn't have that limitation and you could outfit the Beluga however you liked, it would be a superb ship. I probably would have one in my fleet by now, but those limitations ruin it. So it's not the worst ship in the game, not by, you know, no way. I mean, it's nothing like as shit as the Cobra Mark 4, and it's absolutely nowhere near as shit as the Keelback, but it's a ship that I would say don't bother with, because those yeah, the limitations on those slots just hamper it far too much. Besides which, the cost of this ship from Shinrata is 74 million. I mean, you're well on your way towards the Anaconda by then. 74 million will get you a Python and some hefty upgrades as well. So yeah, I would basically say just go with that. There you go. You're looking at nearly 25 million to spend on upgrades for your Python. I would much rather do that. So yes, the Beluga gets a mention here, but yeah, it's not the worst in the game. So the Cobra Mark 4, an absolute heap of shit, and the Keelback, just a total fucking waste of time. Easily the worst ship in the game. Right, that is that question well and truly answered. So yeah, let's see what's next.